Hi, welcome to Amerika TV. My name is Anton. I'm one of America's e-guides, and you are currently watching one of our online programs. Amerika is the U.S. Embassy's American Center here in Jakarta, and for now we have completely moved to a digital platform, and the reason we're doing that is that so we can help flatten the COVID-19 curve and to keep those of you who are staying at home entertained. Right now, you're currently watching one of our programs, How to Write a Personal Statement or Statement of Purpose to U.S. Universities. And the reason you should be watching this is if you're planning to study in the United States and you're still writing your essay, but you're stuck on it, this is definitely the program for you. And if you stay tuned till the end, we also have a social media quiz with the question of, what does CV stand for? You can submit your answer on our Facebook Live comment. And for speaker of the day, we have Fina Alatas, one of our own EducationUSA advisor, and we'll be back to this program very shortly after this announcement.
Hi everyone, I'm Fina, one of the advisors for EducationUSA here in Amerika, who is ready to help you with your study plan in the United States. We can help you with many things, and here are some of the services that we provide for you guys. And how can you get access to any of this? Very easy. Simply email us to jakarta.atamerica@educationusa.org. We look forward to it.
Hi, welcome back. We are now joined with one of our own EducationUSA advisor, Fina Alatas, who will be ready to begin her presentation. I will be giving the floor to Fina.
Hello everyone, I'm back. If some of you watched the first presentation and now you're back, welcome back. If this is kind of like your first time tuning into the program, welcome. I'm Fina. I'm one of the EducationUSA advisors for Amerika here. And this is basically my first time, already my second time giving the presentation fully digital. It feels so weird because now I need to take a look at this camera instead of like looking at the audience like the usual. But are you guys ready? I'm so ready. This is my favorite time of the month actually, because this is part of the monthly event for EducationUSA. Fully informative about how to write U.S. admission essay to U.S. universities, all right? So I'm just gonna take a look real quick here. In Zoom, we have 20 attendees. Hello, everyone. If you have any questions while I give the presentation, please leave some of the questions in the Q&A room, all right? And then at the end, I'm going to spare about 10-15 minutes for Q&A, and I'll be happy to answer that questions, all right? So I'm just gonna start with sharing my presentation. Can everybody look at my presentation, all right? Great. So tonight we're talking about how to write a statement of purpose or personal essay for those of you who want to study in the US. Okay, I'm just gonna like minimize this real quick. So let's start with this timeline. So I covered this real quick on the first event. If you want to start enrolling at a US campus in fall 2021, not this year. Well, technically, if you want to apply for this year, you still can, but there are only few campuses there that the deadlines are still open. So usually it's in a very last round. But let's say, to be safe, all of you guys want to start for next year, fall 2021, right? So when do I start the application process? The application. It's actually now. You need to start like now. Why? Because it's not like a 1 year early. It's supposed to be 2 years minimum. Why? Because the deadline range from 5 to 11 months, or we can say about a year before the program starts. I know it's very, very way ahead, but that is what it is, right? So from that deadline alone, you want to take another 1 year, if you can, to actually start your application. So that leaves you with 2 years application process. So let's see here. For a program that will start in September or fall starts in September or August in 2021, which is next year, with the deadline in November this year, that's like the earliest deadlines that the university usually ask, you can and should start as early as November last year, actually. And now it's already like March 2020, but it's not too late. Now, this is like a perfect timing to actually start your application, especially in the essay, right? And with this presentation, at the end of this presentation, I hope something that you can, usually I say something that you can bring home, but you're already at home. But something that you can take away from this presentation is that how important essay is, and some people find it very challenging because it's not like the usual essay that we usually write. And what is the usual type of essay that usually people write? I'll tell you what. So again, let's agree in one thing. These are the requirements, right? So before we really move on talking about like the essay itself, let's take a look at the requirements. So we basically like quite a lot here, but that's one of the reasons why we need to start like really early. So you have TOEFL or IELTS, and then your college transcript, or if you want to do bachelor's degree or S1, you need to have your high school transcript, and then of course the resume and CV, which basically, what is the kepanjangan dari CV? That's going to be for the quiz. And then letters of recommendation, and then we have a number of standardized tests for masters and PhD. We got GRE or GMAT. For bachelor's degree, we got ICT or ACT, all right? And then the last one is statement of purpose. But then again, I don't put this list on a specific order, basically just randomly put the list there. So it doesn't mean that statement of purpose being the very last in the list is the least important. It's actually the opposite. It's very important, right? And why is that? It's really important, first of all, because each school will going to require at least one essay. And then you may want to check if any of the prompts or the questions from each school is overlapped, because most likely it will. And why you need to check that? Because then you don't have to write, for example, if you want to apply 6 different schools, like what we covered today at 3, you don't have to write 6 different essays. Instead, you can actually create probably one great essay or one foundation essay where you can actually use that one essay for other campus, and we just need to tweak it a little bit, right? We just need to modify that a little bit. So let's start with, are these the same term? I've been hearing we got personal essay, personal statement, statement of purpose, motivation statement, motivation letter. Are they actually the same? Pretty much, yes, but we want to pay attention more on this term. So statement of purpose, it's just like what it's called. It's about you making a statement of your purpose. So purpose means something that you want to do in the future, right? It's actually as simple as that. Basically, you're talking about like your purpose of going to graduate school or bachelor's degree or what have you, and your basically academic professional goals. Personal statement or personal essay, or just simply essay, also similar to what it's called, is about you making a statement of your personal story, personal life, right? And then we have motivation letters. Really interesting because if I got some of my advisors coming in and they said, "Hey, Fina, can you actually read my motivation letter?" And I'll be like, I'm pretty sure you must be applying to other countries outside the U.S. And they'll be like, how do you know? Yeah, because motivation letter is a term usually used in European countries. So in the U.S., we don't really call it motivation letter. Not so much just about like motivation, because motivation letter, and this is when a lot of people actually, when it comes to essay writing, they write pretty much like the same thing, that is something that has happened in the past, kind of like your biography, and I'm going to talk more about that. In fact, when it comes to statement of purpose or essay, it's something that you want to do in the future because you're making a statement of your purpose, right? And that it will get challenging. But again, don't worry. That's basically what I'm here for. That's basically what EducationUSA advisors are here for, right? So we're helping you here, okay? So what makes actually the U.S. admission essay really important and different, to the point that we have this presentation like every month here in Amerika, right? Writing U.S. admission essay can be challenging because, like I said earlier, you are actually not writing about your biography. So let's pause a minute there, right? Because maybe you already have like your draft with you, and if you really read it again, probably what you have is what is already available in your CV. Why I can say this like very, very like I'm sure of it, because that's usually what happens when some of my advisors coming in for the first time and they ask me to actually take a look at their essay, their first draft. It's always like that, the case. But that's okay, right? At least you already start writing. Although at the end of the day, on that advising session, I'll give basically like a big X, because then basically you guys need to have like a major revision where you basically need to rewrite the whole thing, right? And usually I told them to either come to this kind of event, because again, we have it every month, or watch the previous recorded event, right? So what you want to do here with the essay, especially if you want to go to the US, is that you want to write a story that basically sets you apart from the other applicant, and very, very clear stating your goal. And again, another reason why it's very important is because they're not asking you to write the essay just because that is part of the application, but it's because they really, 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 really read your essay and they really do want to know more about yourself, right? The admission committee want to get to know you beyond your professional and academic achievements, basically stuff that is already listed in your CV, and that's usually what a lot of us write the first time, right? They want to know beyond that. So that means they don't want to read all of that again in your essay, okay? An essay, actually, it's the only document, if you really think about it, if you go back to the first few slides where I list all the requirements, essay is basically the only document where you can actually do that, give the story, right? Because the transcript is something that you don't have any control over, because it's basically just great, right? You just need to do really good in there. GRE, GMAT is pretty similar. It's numbers. It's result, you know. So technically, it's all about fit, because most applicants have good grades and scores. So this is kind of like here in Indonesia, we focus too much on our grade, our academic performance. So that's also another reasons why a lot of our advisors, when they come in, they kind of like, you know, oh, I don't want to apply to like this highly selective universities, the one that have, you know, like less than 10% acceptance rate, the one that I covered today, because they feel like I don't, you know, like my profile is not good enough. You know, look, my GPA is just like, you know, so. You know, like I don't think I'm gonna get in. And then I'll be like, says who? If you have like a really strong story in your essay, it will balance out everything, right? Another term for this is actually holistic. I also covered that today. So good essay or story will make a huge difference in your application. Okay, so now let's talk a bit about the essay itself. So it's very challenging because I have my team here kind of like letting me know how many minutes I have left. And usually in Amerika, I basically give this talk for like an hour and a half, non-stop talking, giving the presentation. And then now I actually technically have 40 minutes. So I'm going to talk a little bit fast. I'm sorry if if it doesn't really make sense at first, but don't worry. If you have like some additional questions, email me. And then, or in fact, if you already have like your essay, you have your draft, and you want me to start actually take a look at that, let's schedule that. All right. So now let's talk about the essay itself. So there are different type of questions when it comes to like U.S. Essay, U.S. admission essays. So the very common one is the one that asks you to write 1 to 2 pages about 500 to 1,000 words, basically an essay about yourself, professional goals, everything in that one specific essay. And then we also have some universities that ask you a number of questions, and then they only usually require you to write no more than 250, maybe no more than 500 words. It depends on the universities, right? But actually, if you have that, if you find that university that asks you to do that, it's kind of like the ending goal here is that this different essays, when you combine it together, it will become like number one. It will become like a one good story, right? And then we have the last one, some type of, like a type of unique question. So they're not asking you technically writing an essay, but kind of like answering like type of unique questions. But what we're covering tonight is the common one, which is the 1 to 2 pages of essay, or what we call statement of purpose or personal statement. But I'm focusing more on the statement of purpose. So now, statement of purpose is basically the term that is being used if you want to study master's and PhD. But if some of you guys watching this and you actually want to do bachelor's degree, this presentation will be very helpful as well. Maybe last how do I call it? Less technical in terms of like the content, but if you want to study bachelor's degree or S1 in the US, your essay will be leaning toward the personal statement for master's degree. I know it sounds confusing. For master's degree, usually they ask two different type of essays, the statement of purpose and the personal statement. Okay, statement of purpose is basically you making the statement of your purpose, basically your goal, what is going on, what is it that you want to fix, and then we have the personal essay, personal story, your personal story, all right? First thing first, you want to know your audience. I can't stress this enough, because a lot of times when we start writing, we write things that we think other people can just easily understand, right? But we want to know the audience here. Maybe what you write, your friends or your family or what have you, some people who are here in Indonesia will understand, but people back in the US, they might not understand what you're talking about, right? So we want to know the audience first. So who will basically read your essay? It's the members of admissions committee, who are typically the faculty members teaching in your respective program. So that means they are somewhat the expert of that specific department, specific program, right? And what are they looking for exactly? A story. And I know when I say story, a lot of us kind of like thinking, oh, okay, that's fairly easy, right? A story about me, so that means the story of what I have done. No, because I covered that in the beginning, right? It's not something that we've already did in the past or something that is already written in your CV. It's a different story. It's a story of what is it that you want to do, your intention of doing all this, right? It's a mental picture of who you are as a person as it relates to your fit for undergraduate, graduate, or professional school for your profession. And actually, did you know that the admissions committee may read only partial of the essays? And yes, that is true. They may not be able to actually write the whole thing, read the whole thing. I'm sorry. So now, what can we do? The goal here. So if I say this, there are different type of people. There are some people who kind of like, oh, okay, so that's good, right? That they're not gonna read the whole thing. I don't have to write amazing essay then. Or there are actually some people who kind of like think the other way, the other way around, where you kind of like thinking, oh, okay, no, I don't want that. I want the person to actually keep reading my essay. And yes, if you're the latter one, then yes, that is exactly what we want to do. Now the goal here is to actually make them read your essay from the beginning to end, right? And that is a really, really, really tough, because think about it, right? Like this admissions committee, they need to read like hundreds and hundreds of applicants, right? How is it to make them read your essay from the beginning until the end, okay? Make one of a kind introduction paragraph. That's one, right? Because I love to read books, right? And when I pick up books, I like to, I want them to, like, I want to keep reading by, like maybe reading the first few pages, and then if I like it, I will keep reading. If not, then I will move on to the next book, right? So it's pretty much like similar here. So the way to do it is write an essay that no other people can write. Think of that for a second here. Write an essay that no other people can write, right? So if you and your friends are basically applying for the same programs, basically, you want to make sure that you guys are not writing the same thing. Okay, but at the same time, I don't want you to be unique, but we want you to be original. Okay, and then now you're kind of like, okay, I'm not sure how to do this. Can I see sample of essays from others? That's kind of like also another questions that a lot of advisors kind of like ask me. Fina, so I know you've been helping a lot of Indonesians go to their dream universities in the US. Can I actually take a look at their essay? Can I actually do that? I can practically say yes if the advisors say like okay with that. But do I want to do that? No, I don't want to. With a reason, because I just feel like it's not necessary. I did that when I first joining EducationUSA, and it just didn't really go well. Is because a lot of us, when you start looking at this essay, you really try so hard to actually have pretty much like similar essay, and it's not going to be original. It's not going to be originally you, right? And that's just not what I want you to do. I want the story to be like really, really about you, right? So I feel like when you're not comparing your essays to others and just attend the session, understand the whole thing, what is it that the admissions committee are looking for, I think you will do fine. And then have your draft checked by me or Santika or the other EducationUSA advisors. I would say it's already good, right? Because remember here, you're writing a story. You're not writing an academic paper. It's a story, so it has to be very you. It has to be it's actually just originally you, okay? And how you can actually do that if you're just kind of like overwhelmed with this, like, oh my God, now I need to write something that is really, really good, really, really different than other applicants, right? One of the ways you can do it is by creating a topic or a theme before you start writing everything about what is it that you want to write, right? So think about like the one thing, the topic that, okay, I want to do, for example, environmental law. Because there are so many, environmental issues in Indonesia that I would like to touch upon, right? So if you want to be more specific than that, then go ahead, right? So once you already create a topic, then stick with it. That's going to be one topic that you want to write. So your essay will be about that topic, right? The big questions to ask yourself, another thing that you can actually start thinking about is by asking these questions. Who am I trying to help here, right? And it's going to be very hard if you actually want to study in the US just because, right? I want to continue my master's just because a lot of my colleagues at work want to do the same thing, and I feel like it's cool, and there's so many like funding options available. I just want to do it. But I don't know exactly what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do for the next 3 to 5 years. That's going to be very, very hard when it comes to essay writing, right? But that's not really like always the case with my advisees, which is great. That's why I love this job, basically meeting a lot of Indonesians with, like amazing dreams, amazing goals and everything. They address the problems really, really well. And that's basically what we want to have in the essay, right? So ask these questions. Who am I trying to help? Or if it's not like tapping into like people in general, so then what am I trying to help? Oh, I'm trying to help the economy of Indonesia. Good, be more specific. What do you mean by helping the economy of Indonesia, right? What is my mission here? What is my mission here? Okay, that will be your topic. Before you start writing, that will be your topic. All right, after this short commercial, I will go ahead and we take a look technical in the essay. All right, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Vina, and thank you for the very wonderful first part. We have now learned the little difference between statement of purpose, personal essay, and other terms for this document. And we are going to learn more after this very short commercial break. Hello, any particular plans you want to do next week? Well, wherever you go, it's not going to be a problem because we are currently going digital. Watch all of our events online. Here, I'm going to show you what we have on our silver platter for next week. On Tuesday, March 24th at 2 p.m., you can come and hear from our YSEALI Professional Fellow alumni. They will share how they grew their skills and led their communities in finding solutions to local problems. You can watch all of our events on our social media, which you can find them here, just below me. Don't forget to always stop over on our website and follow all of our social media for the most updated list of events. See you online!
Hi everyone! Do you want to create cool and inspiring events at Amerika? Easy! You can go to our website at www.atamerica.or.id. If you've clicked it, then choose Create an Event, then click Collaborate with Us, fill the form, upload your documents if needed, then click Submit. Still confused? Then you can download a proposal example as your guide. After you have submitted your proposal will be going through a review process by our team. And why are you still here? Go to our page now and send your creative ideas to us. We'll be waiting for you.
Hi, welcome back. We are now going to continue our online program, and I will give the floor back to Fina.
All right, I'm back. Actually, before I move on, I would like to answer one of the questions here in the Zoom room, in the Q&A room. We got Aninda Dewayanti. Hi, Fina, did I get it correctly? Both academic statement of purpose and personal statement supposed to capture the ideas of our future goals instead of merely describing what we've done in the past and reflecting it to what we wanted to do in the future. Good question. So Aninda is a bit tricky when it comes to like personal statement and writing, basically writing both, because yes, for academic statement of purpose, yes, you do not want to really kind of like focusing on what you've done in the past, but we can actually do that as well, which I'm going to talk more on my next few slides. Technically, when it comes to personal statement, it will be something that might happen in the past. In the past, kind of like your, maybe you can go back, I don't know, like as far as like your childhood story on why you specifically want to study this. Maybe because you grew up, maybe you want to do an engineering, and then you grew up in an engineer family, right? So it's kind of like something that has happened in the past, right? The story. So I know it's a bit tricky at this point, but statement of purpose, if they only ask for statement of purpose, we also want to put the element of the personal story in that as well. It really depends on what the university is really asking for. And if a lot of people kind of like confused about the type of questions, what exactly the university is really asking for, go ahead, copy paste it, email me, and I'll be happy to clarify. And for Calvin, I'll get back to you on your question. All right, so let's go back to the presentation. All right. Okay, so that would be your topic. Okay, so basically, the larger the scale of the problem or idea, basically your purpose, that the larger the scale of that that you want to do in the future, the better, right? So what do you mean by the larger scale? So if you want to kind of like, I want to fix the environmental problem in Indonesia. So you're talking about like the whole country, right? Or maybe you can actually, but it doesn't have to be always like that. If you want to go as small as your hometown, or maybe just like want to fix one problem specifically in Jakarta, for example, then that's fine as well, okay? Now, there are two ways of writing a memorable introduction paragraph, because that's what we want to do, right? You want to have the reader, which is the admissions committee, to keep reading your essay until the end. So that means you want to have like a memorable introduction paragraph. The first one to do is talking a personal story about yourself. Yep, that sounds like as if the university is asking you the personal statement, a different type of essay. But if they're not asking that, you can actually put that element in this statement of purpose. But the personal story, it has to be something that make you stand out and sets you apart from other applicants. So what do I mean by that? So usually when I have like advisors coming in, right, and then I'll be asking, so what do you want to study? Oh, I want to study MBA, for example. And then I'll be asking like a lot of questions, like, why do you want to study MBA? And they say, oh, I want to ladder up my career. And working in big companies, and I want to ladder up my career, right? That's basically the answers that most MBA applicants have, right? So if you want to put that in the essay, does that set you apart from the other applicants? No, because we can assume that some hundreds and thousands of applicants out there might write the same thing. Can you write something like that? You can, but if we can actually write something different, why not? Because here the goal is to set you apart from the other applicants, right? So you need to go deeper than that. So if you have the answers when I ask you why you want to study MBA, and you say, so look, before, like, I want to help like startups in Indonesia. We are now in Industry 4.0. This is like a perfect timing to actually help as many as startups as possible in Indonesia. We don't have that foundation yet because this and that. So I would like to work alongside the government in helping the startups. Then what are the chances that other applicants from Indonesia have the same goal with you? Maybe your colleagues, yes, but then just make sure that they're not going to write the same thing. But that's the example of very, like memorable kind of like essays, introduction paragraph. Right. So another thing is, like unusual experience is, so as long as you have a personal story that sets you apart from the other applicant, then put it. If not, we can skip that and then move on to the second tips that I have. But I believe I have the sample here, an example of a memorable introduction personal story. Right, so let's read it together. The passing of my mother and grandmother from breast cancer when I was 15 years old opened my eyes to a new perspective on life. I became intensely interested in scientific research with aspirations to better understand and possibly find a cure for cancer. If you're an admissions committee, or okay, let's say you're just you, right? And then you read this kind of story, would you want to read the rest? I mean, I would, right? And this is a perfect example of an introduction paragraph that sets you apart from other applicants. Because think about it. So let's say this person wants to study public health, maybe. What are the chances? What are the chances that actually there are other applicants out there have the same story exactly like this? I would say none, right? This person might be the only one that have this story for that specific period of application process, right? So that is what we want to do. If you don't have that kind of stories, don't worry, right? Because that's exactly, sometimes it happens a lot. Like you have that story and then people, I don't have the story, and then people just stress out. Don't worry, right? As long as you know what you want to do, we can actually move on to the second tips, which is just dive in right away to the issue, or it doesn't always have to be issue. If you have like an idea, you wanna start something, something that that whatever the Indonesian government or what have you kind of like will support you in make that into reality or something like that, then go ahead, right? Usually I do have like some examples here, but because of timing issue, I'll have to skip that. But again, as long as you know what you want to do, then you